Hello and welcome to Tips for Living with Hyperacusis, Episode 1. In this series, I will be going over different tips and strategies for making your life quieter and helping the people around you to understand your hyperacusis and different ways to problem solve or get the accommodations that you need in different types of situations, or how you can modify certain things to make them quiet. Today's episode will be talking about the basics. One of the first things that I want to talk about is understanding your hyperacusis. You need to know what causes you pain, what sounds are painful for you, what your threshold is in terms of volume and frequency. Even if you don't know the exact decibel level and frequency numbers, you need to have an idea of what sounds are painful for you and are not painful for you. You should know how long your pain lasts. You should also know if you're one of those people whose hyperacusis varies depending on how much you've been exposed to sound. For example, you may normally not experience pain from having a conversation, but if you've been exposed to a lot of noise the past few days, having a basic conversation may then be painful for you. And so you need to be aware of things like that. A good way to figure out what sounds are and are not painful for you is to make a log of what you're doing every day and kind of making a log of your pain level in different situations, and make sure that you record in that journal what different sounds were present in those environments and for how long the pain lasted and what noises you had already been exposed to that day. The other thing that's important to find out is, are you someone whose hyperacusis improves from noise exposure or gets worse from noise exposure? Oftentimes, the people with pain hyperacusis will get worse from noise exposure, but the people with loudness hyperacusis might improve from it, but this is not always the case, so you really need to know which category you're in. The second thing that I wanted to talk about is having research, evidence, and medical articles back you up. When you go to your doctor's appointments, when you speak with friends, family, co-workers, most people have never heard of hyperacusis, and unfortunately, because it's so poorly understood, people will think that it's psychological, and so you need to know how to do research and find credible sources that talk about some of the physical mechanisms of pain hyperacusis and the research that's being done on that. One great source, if you need research articles and medical information, is Hyperacusis Research. They've done a lot of research on pain hyperacusis. I can put a link to them in the below. Another important thing to make sure is that you have a special quiet place that you can go to where you can rest and where the noise level is below your threshold, making sure that this is some place that you can easily access and can go to and stay in for as long as you need and as much as you need is very important, so that when you're experiencing setbacks and elevated levels of pain, you know that you have a place that you can go and rest. The other thing that, number 4, is important is figuring out what type of hearing protection works best for you. For some people, earplugs, because they actually go right into the ear, work better. For some people, the headphones, which go over the ear, work better because they're actually covering a bunch of the bones that we also hear with. Some people find active noise cancellation helpful, and some people it's actually painful. So figuring out what type of hearing protection is helpful for you, and then knowing what your threshold is with the hearing protection on, because that will also vary from person to person. The other thing that I would recommend is to come up with a short explainer for your hyperacusis for when you meet a new person. What I usually say is I have a medical condition called hyperacusis with pain, which causes me to experience physical pain from normal sounds. And then after that, just list what type of accommodations you would need in that specific situation with those specific people. In future videos, I'm going to go more in depth into specific things you can do to make your life quieter, such as eating, laundry, shopping, school, college, how you can explain in more detail to friends, family members, specific advice for kids and teenagers and young adults with hyperacusis, as well as some advice for teachers, doctors, medical professionals, and parents who work with and interact with people who have hyperacusis. If there's a specific topic that you would like for me to cover, or some specific advice or suggestions or tips that you have to add to give to people who have hyperacusis, please send me an email to hyperacusis.awareness@gmail.com. We're always open to new suggestions. Thank you for watching, and I hope you found this video to be helpful. And for those of you who may have clicked on it randomly, I hope you learned something about hyperacusis.